Hello everybody and welcome to the IHEARTHU.com King of the Hill number 2. I am Artosis, casting once again with Doa. How are you doing on this fine afternoon?
I'm doing awesome, man. I absolutely loved the first King of the Hill we do. I feel like we're getting to see like some of the best decks Hearthstone has ever seen yet. And getting to see like the player perspectives is cool too, so I can't wait to get into the second one.
Yeah, the second one going to be a lot of fun, but first let's talk about what this King of the Hill really is. Now,
Yes.
as we said, this is number 2, so the winner of the first one, LS, he's going to be playing in this one and trying to defend his title.
Yep, that's right. He won his first match against Strife Crow 4-2, and now it's time to go up against one of the top WoW TCG players in Eastern Europe, Gnimsh. So this guy has a lot of championships in kind of the predecessor to Hearthstone, the physical card game that Blizzard made about World of Warcraft a few years ago. So we'll see how he transitions over to Hearthstone. We've played him a bunch already. We know he's a great player, so I think it's going to be pretty challenging for LS.
It certainly is, but LS, as we mentioned previously in the first King of the Hill, this guy has been a pro-level StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 player, very high-end at League of Legends as well, and he's even qualified for the Magic Pro Tour.
Exactly, yeah. So he's got the strategic mind that you need to kind of play well in games like Hearthstone as well, so this is going to be another great matchup, I think.
I believe so. And it's going to be a best of 7. It's a King of the Hill with King of the Hill format of playing as well. Not only does the winner stay each week to defend, but you have 4 decks with different classes, and the winning deck stays, whereas your opponent has to switch to a different class.
Yeah, I suppose you could kind of call it like an all-kill format. If you're familiar with StarCraft and StarCraft 2, you'll know that they have those team matches where one guy goes out, and if he wins the game, then the other team needs to send a second guy to try to beat him. Same exact thing with these decks today. So each player starts with a deck, the loser picks a new one, the winner keeps his, and so the first to 4 wins takes the prize.
Yeah, so this is, it's a cool format. I really like it in this way. You know, we've seen a lot of tournaments popping up with 3 decks playing King of the Hill, but we thought, you know what, let's get a little bit more variety, because with 3 decks, I feel like a lot of people are going to overlap on like 2 classes, whereas with 4, we're going to just kind of have more Hearthstone, which is what we all want.
Well, I mean, for a tournament, I would say 3 decks is good. I mean, that's what BlizzCon is going with. But for a King of the Hill sort of like show match series like this, I really want to see as many decks as possible. So I like the best of 7.
It was a lot of fun last time. Should be this time as well. And right before we talk about those decks, let's just mention we have a beta key giveaway going on right now at IHEARTHU.com. So go to the forums, sign up in the forums, and everyone's going to be put in to a drawing at the end.
Yep, that's right.
And we'll actually do that live on stream after the show match. So you have until the show match is done. And who knows, this could be a 4-0, so you better go right now and sign up on those forums.
Yeah, you better hurry up, because basically what we do is the same thing we did last time with a couple beta keys that we gave away. We'll put all the names on a list, have it randomly generate the top people, and whoever ends up on top gets the keys. So pretty simple, pretty effective, and it gives actually a lot of people a really good chance to come away with this from a beta key too, because we're giving away a lot of them.
We're giving away a ton of keys. I'm not sure the exact number right this second, but it's a lot of keys. Before we only gave away a couple, but we have a bunch of keys
this
now.
time.
Yeah. IHEARTHU.com has gotten a lot of them. So definitely go check that out. Really great website as well.
Yeah, also make sure you post on the forums and like talk about the decks you're playing, talk about the game. That's kind of the point of the forums to begin with. So don't just do the beta key thing and then like forget about it. No, have a discussion. It's fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of high-end players that have been chit-chatting on there. So it's a cool site. So you ready to talk about these decks?
I'm so ready, man. Let's get into it.
Okay, so the 2 decks that we are starting off with here today, we have from Gnimsh, that is the Aggro Mage deck.
Yeah.
And from LS, that is the Rebirth deck, which is it's like a redemption-based Paladin deck.
Right.
So kind of weird on this one. This is the more interesting one. So let's talk about the Mage one just really quickly. This is actually, I was playing with Gnimsh a little bit with an Aggro Mage deck, and he kind of morphed it, and every day he was talking to me about the different changes he made, and eventually ended up with this one that he feels is like a lot more stable. I guess.
I like it. It seems very solid. You mentioned the word stable. I think that's absolutely appropriate. You've got early aggression coming out with the Leper Gnomes and things like that. Amani Berserkers and Raging Worgans, those enraged creatures, are going to provide threats like in the early and the mid game. He's got good draw with Acolyte of Pain as well. He's got good defensive Defender of Argus. And then so this is more of a mid-range aggressive mage that getting up to where he can do those Pyroblasts to finish off people.
A little bit of tempo in there as well when you look at the Cone of Cold, for instance. You know, you have a few minions out and you cast a Cone of Cold. That's really going to mess your opponent up. So It's a really cool deck. He's really tightened it up to his likings, and it should be highly, highly aggressive.
Yeah, should be really fun. I love this type of deck right now. I've been playing this same type of deck, not this exact one, but close to it a lot lately, and it's pretty cool. It's not what you would expect from a mage. Like, when Hearthstone, when the beta first hit, everybody was playing this really slow sort of control mage style, trying to mimic the frost mages in World of Warcraft, but I feel like mage is really coming into its own as an aggressive class now, and this is kind of a prime example of that.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think that mage is one of the most aggressive classes that you can possibly
Certainly can be.
So, I mean, that's not too weird, that deck, right?
No.
But let's take a look at this Rebirth Paladin deck that LS is using, and
I like it.
It's an interesting one. It's a little bit different than most Paladin decks you'll see. And you can notice that he's using a lot of minions that have death rattle effects.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, he wants stuff to die and come back. I mean, he's got loot hoarders in there, of course. He's got harvest golems. And I mean, when you pair a lot of that stuff with Knife Juggler, Knife Juggler is good with Paladins already because of the hero ability. You're usually guaranteed to get at least one, passive effect from that off. You've got a lot of stuff coming back, and you've got a lot of stuff getting buffed with the Sword of Justice, too. So this is one of those decks where you think you're playing efficient against it, you think you're killing the creatures fast enough, and they just keep coming out, they keep coming back. So this deck kind of overruns you over time. This is sort of like the Murloc that's not a Murloc deck, almost.
Something like that, yeah. And if you look at it, right, what's really synergistic here with Redemption? Because this deck is kind of based off that thought. You already mentioned the Loot Hoarders and the Harvest Golems. Both great ones. That's going to give you a lot more out of your Redemption. He's also got the Leper Gnomes. And let's not forget all the minions that have Divine Shield. Because they come back with Divine Shield on them. And he even has a Blood Knight in there to try to abuse that a little bit as well. So definitely a different one and a very interesting one. Very aggressive. We see a couple Blessing of Kings in there as well. So
he's got good closers too in this deck. He's got, like you said, Blessing of Kings, which is a good closing move with this deck. He's also got the Argent Commanders, which are always nice to come out and do some damage at the late game. And then he's even got one Lay on Hands in there, which, like, I guess if all goes wrong, he can at least try to heal himself. So this is an interesting take on the Paladin decks that people have been putting together, so I really want to see it in action. I'm a little bit worried about the fact that there's only one Noble Sacrifice in there, because I think using Noble Sacrifice into Sword, into Redemption gets you, a free 3/2 sometimes. It can be really strong, that's the one thing with this deck that I'm a little bit surprised about.
You would like to have that one more
I always put 2 Noble Sacrifice in there. It's just such a useful card in so many situations. So, I mean, it's a stylistic choice, obviously, but I would have gone with 2.
Alright, well, we'll have to see how this matches up against the Aggro Mage. What do you think? Which deck has the better matchup here? For me personally, I look at it and I say Aggro Mage looks a bit more refined, looks a little bit more streamlined, but Rebirth looks tricky. This is a tricky kind of deck. I'm not counting it out.
I mean, the thing with the Paladin deck is that it's got buffing, it's got a lot of ways to sort of surprise you, where the Mage deck, like, what comes out on the field is just, it is what it is. You're not going to have stuff popping out of nowhere, you're not going to have stuff that's suddenly stronger than it was a turn ago, so, I mean, it's, to a certain extent, Aggro Mage is a bit predictable. I think when you mentioned tempo earlier with the Mage deck, that's really going to be the key here. If Gnimsh can get the tempo and keep it with his Mage deck, he should be able to beat the Paladin deck. But there's a really good chance that if the secrets go the right way, if he gets the right buffing cards, gets the sword out, I think there's a really good chance that LS can overrun him too. So this one really could go either way. I think it's going to depend on the first couple turns, like a lot of these aggression versus aggression games do,
Yeah, I gotta echo that. Well, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and jump into that first game. Alright, so here we go, guys.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this. We're trying something a little bit new this week.
Alright.
You see Gnimsh's hand on the right, LS's hand there on the left.
Okay.
And this is going to take just a little bit to get used to for us and for you.
Wow, alright.
Okay, so this bottom player here, this is Gnimsh.
Yeah, Gnimsh is the
and
mage
that's the
on the
right-hand side.
Yep.
And then LS is the guy at the top, and that's the left-hand side for cards.
Yeah, alright. So he's going to coin something out right away. It looks like it's going to be the Loot Horde. No, the Harvest Golem. I can't count today, apparently.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But
we're still getting used to this, yes.
Harvest Golem, that's a good opener. That guy's always going to be pretty useful. but not that useful against a Raging Worgen.
Not a whole lot. In fact, it's kind of anti-useful against a Raging Worgen. Now, in his hand, he does have the Argent Protector, so he could kind of keep it around, but he still doesn't want to enrage that guy. There's like, I don't know, it's...
You know, the thing is, you can hit that with the Worgen, and then attack him and ping.
Exactly.
So, the thing is, the Worgen will die if he does attack into that the next turn, so the most damage you can get done is like 4. Yeah. And does he want to lose that Worgen? You know, he does have other options in his hands, like he has an Iron Beak that he could use right now.
That's true. He could silence the Divine Shield right away.
He could
give it... That's what I was thinking, yeah, is he could also give it +1 with the Shattered Hand Cleric as well, so... we'll see. He's going to actually silence the Divine Shield, or he might silence the Golem, too.
Either one
that
is
wouldn't be a bad
good.
idea. I think the Golem would be a better choice in this case, because you could kill it, put it on one creature, there we go, now he can hit it, still get 4 damage in, and will he ping?
I think he has to attack that, and then maybe attack his opponent and do a ping.
Yeah. Oh, there's a secret, though. Noble Sacrifice coming out.
Okay, that's actually really nice. That's going to save a minion here for him for now.
Yeah. And he's going to ping that. I think he's just going to go ahead and trade. We'll see. No, yeah, he's going to take out the 2/3. Leave the 3/1. I mean, that's the thing about the Scarlet Crusaders is that once the Divine Shield is gone, they are 3/1, which is very vulnerable. I used to love this card, but right now I'm starting to have second thoughts about the Scarlet Crusader, actually.
Oh, I love Scarlet Crusader
I
myself.
think it's
She's
still
always
good,
2 for 1. Almost always. I guess against Mage, not nearly as good, but...
Maybe it's the prevalence of Mage aggression that is making me have those feelings. I don't know.
Could be. Because she's like... she's 2 for 1 so often, right?
It's good this time for him, with the Argent Protector who's able to put the Divine Shield back on there, and I gotta say, Gnimsh is in a little bit of trouble. That's a good board right now. The thing is that Gnimsh does have draw coming from the Acolyte of Pain. He does have a bigger hand size, still has that Fireball available. So, you know, we'll see. The hero power is going to be helpful too.
You know, there's a lot you can do here. I feel like you're going to actually ping the Scarlet, though. And
exactly.
Okay, so he pings the Scarlet, going to take that out. That makes a lot of sense. That owl, not so worthful. And minimum, he's going to draw 1 card off of this Acolyte. And realistically, like, what do you do here? Do you kill it right off, or are you going to let him draw 2-3 cards?
Ooh, actually, you silence it with the Spellbreaker, and then he's just going to do damage. Yeah, now it's just a 1/3, which does not help Gnimsh a whole lot. He can go ahead and use a Shattered Hand Cleric on it, I suppose, or if he wants to, or Shattered Sun Cleric, my bad. But
I think that's actually a good play.
I think it's not bad, because you can take out the Argent Protector in that case. You can keep around, you'll have a 2/1 then against their 2/1 and a 4/3. He's actually going to go ahead and make it into 2/4 taunt. That's not bad at all either.
Yeah, and you know what? That'll at least bring the health down on, if he doesn't kill it in some other way, bring the health down on the Spellbreaker enough to ping it next turn. So
yeah, absolutely.
Gnimsh playing a kind of controlling style so far in this game, but he has to,
because
LS is staying so aggressive with this Paladin
Look
deck.
at this second Spellbreaker, though, and the Leper Gnome. The board continues to be really, really aggressive for LS at the moment. Ooh, Leper Gnome Fever. My favorite card.
Yes.
I love that card.
Do you know, aside from gnomes and humans, only armadillos can get leprosy?
Really?
Yeah. Little fun fact for you.
I did not know that. That sucks for armadillos, but it's interesting scientifically.
Yeah. That's what I was going for. So Gnimsh going to continue to clear the board off. You know, just still playing that kind of controlling style. And now he's definitely got a stronger board presence and about the same amount of cards in hand.
Yeah, there's another Scarlet Crusader, and are we going to have the biggest Leper Gnome ever? We are. It's going to be a 6/5 Leper Gnome.
Sick.
I love it. Sick, literally.
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
Well, that's a gigantic Leper Gnome, and he's going to have to do that. 2 Blessing of Kings in your hand. Like, Blessing of Kings is a great card.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got. I think he needs to attack, by the way.
I think so, too.
It was funny that he was thinking of attacking the Shattered Sun.
Yeah, I mean, he is open to a lot of incoming damage, but he's got such a life lead right now that I think it's worth it. There's that Fireball, going to handle the Leper Gnome, but still, going to be another 2 damage. Down to 9 now is Gnimsh.
Well, Gnimsh has control right now, and the thing is, that Divine Favor in Ellis's hand, not really going to do anything here.
You know, I was going to talk about it last turn. I felt like that would have been the turn to actually go for it, because he would have gotten, I believe, like a 3-card draw off of it, like 1 or 2 turns ago. Usually when I'm playing Divine Favor, I try to cast it as early as possible, because at this stage in the game, they're going to be dumping like everything in their hand usually.
Yeah, that's very well said, especially since it's an aggressive mage deck, generally speaking, even though it's playing a little bit controlling this time.
Yeah, and that's his only Divine Favor, too. Now, Consecration's going to be handy in this case. Gnimsh actually, okay, wow, it's going to trade. I think that's a good decision.
Yeah, that's a perfect move. He's got to get rid of it. His health is getting really low. But now that he's taken board control a couple times in a row, suddenly the life is getting a little bit more even.
Yeah, I think Gnimsh is in a really good spot right now, though. He knows that even with a Consecrate in his hand, basically LS is still in gigantic trouble.
In fact, I would say LS is just straight up dead at this point. Because
you
can
just Leper Gnome, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you can ping your own organ, and that's basically it right there. So
that is it.
You know what? LS had a really nice and aggressive start there with that deck. It was a little bit tricky in some places, but overall, Gnimsh just kind of cleared the board enough, and everything was good.
Yeah. And there it is. Well played from LS. He's going to concede in game 1. Goes to Gnimsh.
All right. We should go ahead, check out exactly what's going to be in game number 2. Okay, so it looks like Gnimsh has taken game number 1 with his aggro priest build over that kind of wonky paladin.
Yeah, well, we mentioned we were worried a little bit about the consistency. You know, I feel like it kind of relied on a few things to happen the first couple turns, and those things didn't happen, and so we just had the consistency, the strength of the mage aggression deck just kind of went out for Gnimsh. So now we've got kind of something interesting coming in from LS.
Yeah, this one is, it's a priest deck. It's a value priest deck is what he's calling it here, and that's because he's trying to get value out of these minions.
That's right.
It's very minion-based, and he's trying to just trade, like, super well the entire game with this type of deck. This is definitely one that you and I have played against a lot over the last few days.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and the idea is just card efficiency here. So yes, we do see Chillwind Yetis in there. Yes, we do see things like Light Spawns. You know, basically he's looking for stuff that has a power and toughness for the creature that either equals or exceeds the mana cost. And if it doesn't, it's got to have a very, very valuable ability that kind of affects a larger amount of things at once. So it's just kind of using the strength of Priest to heal up a lot of these high health minions. So as we get to like turn 4 or turn 5, you know, we're going to have situations where ideally for LS, he's going to want it to where his creatures always live, he can heal them up, and Gnimsh is going to constantly keep losing. So it's going to be a long-term slow gain for the board advantage for LS if it works out.
If he can stabilize, man, then he'll be in a good spot, especially once the Holy Fires start coming out. That's one of the best cards against Mage.
So good, yeah.
It's like, it's huge card advantage. It's a 10 life swing against a deck that's using cards to directly damage you. So it's like card advantage, life gain, damage, it's everything all in one.
Right, well I mean traditionally too, Priest has been a very good counter to Mage because it can deal out the damage it needs to with spells and things like that, but it also has the healing. So where we've got a creature Mage deck, now we've got sort of a creature-oriented Priest deck, and again, I think the healing is going to come through. I feel like I have to guess that LS is going to tie up the series, but I don't know, aggressive Mage is really good right now, but I think LS is going to take this one.
I think so. I feel like Priest is the best counter to Aggro Mage overall. You know, there's a few decks out there that can hold their own against an Aggro Mage deck, but this one has that life gain, and he's going to utilize that a lot. One thing I did want to talk about in this deck real quick before we start is kind of the coolness of Temple Enforcer, because everything else, like, we see a lot in these decks, and actually you see a good amount of Temple Enforcers. There's something about that card that I really like.
He's got value. He's a 6 for 6/6 first of all, and he gives 3 health to something else too. So this is where we talked about that late game advantage where he's going to have, you know, Else is going to be hitting a creature with his creature, it's going to survive with like 1 or 2 health, and then Temple Enforcer is going to come out, heal it right back up again, and it's like you got a free kill on one of their minions for free.
Yeah, you know, Temple Enforcer is something that, you know, you and I and Ellis have been boot camping a lot recently, you know, trying to prepare me for BlizzCon and all, and one thing that we went over quite a bit was Power Word Shield and Temple Enforcer, and the fact that these guys are kind of like, you can almost consider them removal spells, because they give you that extra toughness to keep your, or that extra health to keep your minion alive while you kill another. So I'm excited to see LS play this out. You think that Gnimsh has much of a chance here?
I think he does. I mean, again, you know, it comes down to that tempo. If you can pick up the tempo early and keep it, he can absolutely beat LS, but he's going to need to have like a big early lead. He's going to need to jump ahead quite a bit in turns like 2 through 4, and if those go well, yeah, he can absolutely beat LS, but I think if it goes to like turns 6, 7, you know, if we get to the later game, LS should be able to take it.
That's where Mage starts to do real well.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, man, let's jump into game number 2. Here we go, Doa. This is game number 2. And what we have here is Gnimsh on the bottom. He's the mage player. And then we have LS up at the top. And we see Gnimsh's hand here on the right, and that is an insanely good turn 1.
Whoa, yeah, no
Holy
kidding.
crap.
That's how you use the coin. Yeah, that's not bad. Because the coin does count as a spell, so it does buff up your mana worm. So, he's got that going for him. But, unfortunately, Shadow Word Pain, gonna say no to that. But, it means a really efficient Leper Gnome now. He's guaranteed, like... Normally, he's going to get like a minimum of 4 damage for 1 mana with this, which is why I love Leper Gnome so much.
Leper Gnome's a badass, and he is going to get that 4 damage and cost a card here from LS. Well, not actually. He's going to go ahead and... That makes sense, obviously. You're going to want to go the 3-2 over the 2-1. But
it's going to be more damage overall, and he can heal up the Leper Gnome. In this case, is one of those situations where you gain advantage in terms of mana, but in the first couple turns, you're not going to be able to play like 2 cards usually in a priest deck, so it's actually fine. So, in this weird case, the priest ability is actually useful early game for countering quote-unquote the Leper Gnome. Yeah,
while he builds up that mana that he really needs. But
right.
The Leper Gnome still is going to at least trade for something here now.
It's going to be annoying. Light Spawn, okay.
Light Spawn.
He doesn't really have a way to heal the injured Blade Master quite yet, so that makes sense. That does make sense. But with Frostbolt...
I like that he's throwing that out and waiting that 1 extra turn to be able to heal up. I think here, though, you obviously use the Iron Beak, right? You use the Iron Beak and you attack.
See, I think he will, but if it were me, I'd be a little bit worried to use it so fast, when I could have used the Frostbolt to kill it as well, and you aren't guaranteed that Frostbolt's going to help you against some of the later minions that are coming out. So I don't know, I would have actually maybe saved the Iron Beak Owl. I think it's a perfectly fine play, but I would be a little bit worried.
I don't know if I like him Frostbolting his...
Yeah, I don't know.
I think this ping is better.
Yeah.
I think that Frostbolt, if you look at how high the mana is in this hand, you're going to have a turn in there in like turn 6 or turn 7 where you don't want to cast anything else, and you can use your Frostbolt there, so...
Right, exactly. Now, the thing with having a 0-5 out on the map is you don't know what your opponent has coming. You know, is he going to turn it into something with Taunt? You know, is he going to give it that pre-spell that makes it attack equal its health? I mean, the fact that it's still around, even though we know what's in these decks and it may not matter, I would still be worried about that, but... We've got a 3-2 Taunt Leper Gnome, so...
as well as a 3-2 Taunt Iron Beak Owl.
Yeah, things are looking okay for Gnimsh. I mean, so far, that tempo that we were talking about has definitely come in for him.
And that's okay, though, because we're getting a little bit later into the game, and LS is starting to stabilize a bit, as we see. He's actually going to be able to take down a few of these minions, healing that one up a little bit, and... Okay, this is looking like a much more stable board position. But we have a lot of damage. We do have that Pyroblast in his opponent's hand.
And there's also that Flame Strike, too, which might come in handy a little bit later. In 1 turn, he's going to be able to use that. It's just going to be his hope that he keeps everything under 4 health until then. Light Spawn doesn't really matter at this point, obviously, because it's been silenced. But everything else, needs to be under 4 health.
Well, for now he's going to keep putting on damage. Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're going to probably see the Acolyte and the Amani Berserker here.
Oh, yeah.
He could use a Frostbolt, but I don't know.
With Flame Strike coming, he doesn't really need to at this point yet.
Yeah, the Pyroblast is there.
Yeah.
So next turn, I think you save it and use it next turn, right? Like maybe ping your guy to draw a card or...
I would go for Flame Strike next turn because I think he's got a really good chance of lowering the 4/5 to the point where, and yeah, look at that. Now that there's a clear cut, absolutely you Flame Strike next turn.
Yeah, you know what? He's going to be able to hit for a little. Well, actually, you have to deal some additional damage as well.
Oh, that's big.
Oh, nice bug.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is awesome, but that's what you were talking about before with the big taunt. Now he has this 1/6 taunt from that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's going to be very helpful. These taunts are actually kind of saving his life at this moment.
And if he would have still had that Iron Beak Owl, he could have used it now on the Cleric, could have used it on the injured Blade Master too. So I feel like that play early on is really hurting him right now. And
well, the Flame Strike at least, right?
He's still got to do it, yeah. And I mean, it's going to be okay. He's going to be able to clear the board. But a tense moment. I guess he's okay out of it, but... It's a tense moment, man.
It's getting down to the wire right here. He's gonna have to. LS has to start healing himself. But the thing is, next turn there can be 13 damage easily. I don't know that he'll play it like that. I think playing the minions and the spells and leaving Pyroblast for next turn is probably best.
Yeah, I agree. Because next turn,
like
you're gonna have
double Frostbolt.
We'll see.
Oh, he's not gonna drop the Mana Worm. I think he's just saying I can do enough damage right now that Yeah, even...
Yeah, he can't heal himself up far enough, even
Well-
with Holy... Well, if he has Holy Fire. If he draws Holy Fire, he'll be...
That was a big misplay by
Sort of
Gnimsh, by the way.
safe.
He played the Mana Worm after.
Oh, yeah, he messed that one
That
up.
was a big misplay there. And that
I don't
actually,
think it matters. But
I don't think... It looks like this game is actually just over anyways.
Because there's no Holy Fire for LS. That'd be the only thing that could get him to some sort of semblance of survivability with that Pyroblast coming next turn. So, yeah, he's totally fine. Gnimsh is still going to win the game. But a couple little misplays, I think, from this one. I have to go back to the Iron Beak Owl. I don't agree with how he played it. And, you know, last turn, of course, putting the Mana Worm on last. But a win is a win is a win. And that's another one for Gnimsh.
Well, there we go. Gnimsh up 2-0 against our defending King of the Hill, LS. Let's go into game 3. So, game number 3 gonna be coming up, and it looks like LS is... I mean, if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah.
He's going with blue deck wins or mage deck wins.
It's a mage off, and he's made a couple changes since last time. We've still got Nat Pagel in there, which is, you know, a whole... And the thing is, we found out recently that Nat Pagel was bugged, I guess? Did you hear about that, right?
I could have told you that. That guy never draws me a
Oh,
card.
I know. Like, I was not a... I'm a Nat Pagel anti-fan. I love fishing, but I don't like Nat Pagel. And we also see the addition of Leroy Jenkins in this, too, which is really cool. I love this card, but that's me. You're not such a big fan of Leroy.
Well, you know, Leroy's pretty good. This is... The deck that LS is using is basically a few cards off of what I use right now in my mage deck. And this is what Gnimsh's deck was based off of, was a deck that was a couple cards off this one. So these all kind of come from the same family tree, but I have a few different things I did. Like, instead of Raging Worgens, I like Amani Berserkers.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I do agree with that one.
The Worgen potentially can deal more damage, but it's a little bit slower.
Yeah, and it's tough to keep him alive. That's the big thing, is your Amani Berserker has a much better chance of getting to deal that damage than the Worgens do, just because the removal is going to be such a premium against the Worgen.
Yeah, and... You know, a few things different. Like, I don't play Leroy in this deck. I think it's a good card for the deck. I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's just maybe not my style personally. But this one is basically a more spell-based one compared to the more minion-based one from Gnimsh.
Yeah.
So, not that much to see. I think this game is going to be really fast.
It's going to be entertaining. I'm, like, waiting for the turn 7 Leroy Jenkins into Cone of Cold, because then you can just kill off the Dragonlings right away. That works pretty nice.
Sickest turn 7 right there.
I like it, yeah. That's what you save him for.
Yeah.
Alright, but I think, there's not a lot else to say. I want to just get into the game and see if LS can take a win. I mean, he's down 0-2 right now, our defending champion. Almost fighting for his life, like one game away from being in real trouble right now.
Yeah, if you go down to 0-3, you have to all kill with the deck. I don't
Yeah.
think so, man. A lineup of 4 decks, you're going to find something that's
Nearly impossible right now in Hearthstone. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and jump it right into the game. Game number 3, here we go. It looks like down at the bottom, this game is Gnimsh. Yes, it is Gnimsh.
Yes, it is.
So we're keeping Gnimsh down at the bottom.
Yep, keeping him down.
Yeah. And,
which is tough. LS hasn't been able to keep him down yet.
No, not at all. Gnimsh is up 2-0, so that's kind of big.
Yeah. Well, Leper Gnome gets taken out right away.
Whoa, coin into Fireball.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just that efficiency. It's 2 mana to prevent yourself from taking 4 damage for 1 mana.
I don't like it, though. Why don't you coin into Sorcerer's Apprentice and play Arcane Missiles for free?
Oh, it's a really good point, too,
If it 3 hits
yeah.
the mage, then, well, you're the unluckiest human ever.
I totally didn't even see that. I'm still getting used to, like, where the player hands are now with this format. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's what I totally would have done. There's a chance that you would lose the Gnome, of course, because you never quite know where the Arcane Missiles are going to go. But yeah, I think that would have been the better play. I think you're right there.
Especially when he knows that there's Raging Worgens and Armani Berserkers in there. It's like the card becomes kind of useless. So I feel like that just would have been maybe a bit better. But
that's a good point. Man, LS, a little bit of trouble here.
A little bit so far, but...
I mean, you can do the Arcane Missiles now, I suppose, but then again, you've got enough mana where you can... Oh, he's just going to actually draw. Okay.
Well, you can kind of see his playstyle as well. LS is a very controlling player, and he's not taking any sort of aggressive stance, even though his hand could have been kind of an aggressive... A little bit more of an aggressive...
It could have been, maybe should have been, because now he's got a 3-2 to deal with. He's got the 3-3 as well. He has that Cone of Cold in his hand. He's got a Frostbolt. He can delay a little bit, but... I don't know. This is going to be a tough one.
Well, the Cone of Cold, I like this. Slow him down a little bit, start building up your Mana Worm.
Yeah.
And with those pings, of course, he can take out the Gnome rather easily next turn.
Right. Well, we do have the Fairy Dragon option. I mean, Raging Worgen. I feel like this is a turn when you start to play all your Enraged guys. I really think that would be a good idea.
Well, if he does this, we're definitely going to see a Blizzard. Like, there is going to be a Blizzard that comes down, and it's going to really mess him up.
You're getting into that 5-mana danger zone, but I mean, if you're playing a deck like Gnimsh's, at some point you just have to go for it. You don't play both of them at once, but you maybe, like, toss one or two out, and I think he's going to toss one out and just kind of wait. We'll see.
It looks like you're right about that, and...
I think that's the best call in this particular case.
That's fine, but I think you still go Blizzard here.
Oh, yeah.
I would definitely... Yeah, no, I'm looking at LS's hand, and I think Blizzard is the only play. You lock all that down, you can ping the Worgen next turn, or use Arcane Missile, whatever you want. You know, you're going to be able to clean them up.
Yep, Blizzard definitely the right option here, and he can attack for 3 damage, which is not bad at all. Takes 2 from the Leper Gnome, but no big deal. Still kind of working on getting that health advantage back, and now that the Blizzard is out of the way, I would say go ahead and toss both of those Amani Berserkers out there. Why not, man? I mean, you've got the Kona Cold, you can lock him up a little bit. He's going to go for it, and oh wow, the Fairy Dragon going all in right now. But
he's saying you do not have another Blizzard in your hand,
well,
and he is right.
Yeah, I mean, the likelihood is pretty unlikely that there's going to be a second Blizzard. It's one turn before Flame Strike is an issue, so this is his chance. You know, this is like his moment to press the advantage, I guess.
Well, you know what he can do right now? Okay, he's actually going to choose to play that. Well, he's going to take a lot of damage next turn. Does he remove one of these guys? It looks like, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so that's actually not that bad. Gnimsh can attack for like 8 this turn.
Mm-hmm.
And he can freeze. I think that's probably the right move, right? Kona Cold right now, for sure.
Yeah, I would do 8 damage in Kona Cold. I agree completely. And that's what he's going to do. Yeah, why not? Gets rid of the Mana Worm, holds up the Argent Commander for just a moment.
And that's lethal next turn easily. Gnimsh is going to have mana for his Pyroblast.
Yeah.
Could we end up seeing an all-kill here from Gnimsh?
I don't think so, because I think we're going to see 2 Arcane Missiles coming out of LS this turn, plus Leroy. So, basically, I would do 1 Arcane... Well, let's see, because you can't really go Leroy and then Arcane Missiles. You have to go Arcane Missiles first. And he's actually going to play the Water Elemental. So, yeah, just playing it slow. You see, like, aggressive me again,
well, he's
right?
going for a kill, I guess, a little bit later. He has to hit these, though. This is really fun. Okay.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
RNGG, man.
RNGG, get out of here.
That was about as perfect as it could be for LS. Yeah.
This is kind of rough. I think you do Pyroblast here and hope for a top deck, basically,
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, you have to get him down to 3 health. If you can get a Frostbolt, you're in good shape. Otherwise, you have 3 turns to live. He's still got 25 health. But LS with Leroy coming out is going to be doing a lot of damage this turn, adding in Frostbolt to it.
Well, he can't Leroy unless he kills something. He has to at least ping one of them, or the counterattack would kill him. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he's not going to be able to do 25 damage, but...
I think he's actually saving Leroy for lethal. Like, let that be the lethal card.
I suppose. Alright, well, he's going to do even more, get him pretty low. Now, Gnimsh, if he draws another creature, he can at least make a Taunter, but this is pretty dire straits for Gnimsh suddenly.
No, Gnimsh is going to die, it looks like. Yeah, he can get him down to 2 and have a Taunter, but 1 Taunter is not going to be enough. 8 health, you can remove that easily and attack for 7 plus a ping. That's it.
Exactly.
That's game right there. LS,
that is.
Unless he has a heart attack right now, is going to win, and even then...
Well, we know the entire match was played, so we know that didn't happen.
Yes.
So I think this is just going to be a win. A little bit of a celebratory Leroy Jenkins, because why not?
Yeah.
And he's going to just get rid of the taunt. There it is. Leroy Jenkins for the win, and LS makes the start of a bit of a comeback, at least.
Okay, so LS picking the Mage deck, getting the win. Could this describe the current metagame? So far, we have 3 games and 3 Mage wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think this just goes to show how strong, like, aggro Mage is right now in Hearthstone. Everybody's playing it. Like, I mean, if we look at the TL Open, like, most people had it up at the top, too, and it's just really strong, and we can see a couple different variations of it work kind of just as well. And you know, I tend to kind of lean towards LS's a little bit, and I know I'm like the player who's all about consistency, all about having 2 of everything in my deck, but honestly, I like that there's a little bit more aggression in LS's version of it. But speaking of aggression, we've got a Warrior deck actually coming up for Gnimsh.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool one, you know. Warrior not played nearly as much if you play a lot of Constructed Ladder up at the top, but it's still a very good deck. When you hit a good Warrior, you feel it, and... This is kind of an interesting one. Let's take a look at it, right? It's like, for instance, he is using a lot of the damage type situations, like the Amani Berserkers. He's got the Frothing Berserkers as well. Those things can be a pain in the ass, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what Warrior is all about, too, is getting stuff that just kind of sticks around for a while, doesn't go away. He's got the draw from Acolyte of Pain. He's got Commanding Shout for those turns where you want to clear the board, but you don't want to lose your stuff. It's such a great card.
I love that card. That is like one of my favorite cards, Commanding Shout. And because we don't see it very much, let's just explain what it does. For 2 mana, none of your minions can go below 1 health that turn, and you draw a card off of it. So already it draws you cards, so that's good. And then like you can just attack with all your minions into theirs, kill them all, and all of yours live. It's like a one-sided. It's crazy. It's awesome.
It's really strong, but the one thing I'm a little bit worried about it is against a mage, getting everything to 1 health, that makes you pretty vulnerable to a lot of AoE.
Good point. Cone of Cold becomes a very good card there.
Normally, I agree with you. I'm totally on board with loving Commanding Shout. I use it in like every warrior deck I make too, but against this particular mage deck, I don't know. You know, the thing with Warrior is, of course, is that your stuff is going to be taking damage. You know, and Rage is a really nice mechanic. And he also has an ability to build armor up too, which is supposed to give him a little bit more sustain than the average aggressive deck gets. But with this one, I don't know. I mean, mage decks are so strong right now, and this warrior deck looks good, but for some reason it strikes me as a little bit unrefined. It seems a little bit confused. This is a bit of a slower warrior deck too. This isn't the trend that we've been seeing, which is trending towards more aggressive warrior right now. This is more of a kind of like sit back a little bit. He's got Dread Corsairs, he's got Defender of Argus, he's got Arathi Weaponsmith, so he's got a lot of stuff in there that says, I want to play a little bit more defensive. I want to gain armor, I want to control the board, and so this is a little, I don't want to call it control warrior, but this one is going to be a little bit slower, so that combined with the style of aggressive mage deck that LS is playing, I feel like I want to give the advantage to LS. I'm a little bit worried about Gnimsh in this one.
I don't know. It's a little bit harder for me to call here, personally, because I look at this, right, and like, for instance, Frothing Berserker, that is I love that card right now.
It is really good. Yeah.
And you know, he's just got so many minions here, and he's got a lot of charge. You know, between the Kor'kron elites and the Warsong commanders, I feel like this can be pretty deadly, especially you have an inner rage, and then you suddenly haste out like, you know, maybe the Amani Berserker or something like that. That's a ton of damage out of nowhere, like 7 for 2 mana. 2 mana after it's, you know.
You can. I mean, it is explosive, and that's kind of part of playing a warrior too. But well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think this is going to be pretty interesting. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to go because I haven't seen this actual deck played yet here from Gnimsh, but I like it. I actually really like this build. I think it's pretty cool. It looks kind of solid, right? Like it's keeping with its aggression, even though it has some of these defending things, right? Like it's got the Iron Beaks. It's a very quick drop. That's a drop that, especially if you have, like, let's say your Warsong Commander out, not only does it silence something, but it's 2 damage to the head, right? Or to a minion or whatever you want. Like, I like it. I feel like it's synergistic, quite synergistic.
I think he's really going to need to rely on the charge. He's going to try to hit fast because there's enough AoE freeze and things like that, and he's got water elementals too, that LS, you know, it's all about tempo with these mage decks. If you can get it early on, if you can control the board, and there isn't a lot of taunt stuff coming out, should be okay. Like, we're really divided on this one. Like, I think LS is going to take it. It sounds like you think that Gnimsh is maybe going to take it.
I think that... I'm not sure, because I haven't seen a deck quite like this.
All right.
You know, I've seen a lot of warrior decks, but like this only has 2 weapons and stuff. Well, I guess it has the Arathi Weaponsmiths, but
I like to make calls too. I like to say I'm gonna put everything on the line and like predict a winner. I know like there's a certain like curse going around with like when you do that kind of thing, but I'm still safe. I think I can still do that. So LS should be okay. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's jump into the game and see how this game actually goes.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's time to see how is this going to go? You
Here we
really
go,
think that LS is going to take it?
Yeah.
And then I look at these hands, and I think that is the worst hand I've ever seen for LS.
I think it's really bad for LS. Yeah, Gnimsh gets the coin too. He can drop an Amani Berserker on turn 1, man. That is
scary.
not too bad because, you know, what's a mage going to do? Ping it, right? So I think I've got a feeling this is going to go pretty well for Gnimsh if we just look at these opening hands.
That hand is like pretty sick. Like worst case scenario, armors next turn, right?
Yeah.
And then he can start buffing. He can throw down the Frothing Berserker to gain some more attack.
Yeah. Now here's the thing: is that LS is presenting him with the trade. He's like, all right, well, we can at least trade creatures, and I think LS wants to trade in this particular case, and he's going to get his wish. I mean, Gnimsh does have to worry a bit about this as well, but
you don't want 3-mana polymorphs coming out. You don't want 3-mana fireballs coming out. You don't want 3 arcane missiles.
Yep, 2-mana Cone of Cold, it's not good. So
She's too
good. you do kind of have to take that trade, and he does still get an armor out of it after things are all said and done. So. It's not too bad. He can put out the Frothing Berserker, maybe even a golden one. Also wants to probably consider Warsong Commander in this case. I think you just have to go for Warsong Commander and try it. But no, he's actually going to go Frothing Berserker first.
I like this guy because this guy's going to draw a bigger removal spell more quickly. And if you save your Warsong, if you have enough plays early on, that you save your Warsong to play Warsong plus a minion the same turn.
That is true.
That's like the best feeling in the world.
That is true. If you go with that into a Shattered Sun Cleric, that can be pretty aggressive on something you already on the board. Oh, and there's a Silence.
Okay.
So, still a 2/4.
Yeah. You know what? He could make it... there's a lot of things he can do here.
I was going to say Defender of Argus might not be a bad play, but you might want to save that until you really need it. Shattered Sun Cleric, he's got 2 of them in his hand right now.
He's got a lot of options at this moment.
Yeah, I think he wants to do that and then probably trade and have just 2 creatures out on the board, and that's what he's going to do, I guess.
And that's going to use up 2 mana this turn, because obviously you have to ping that as a mage. It's like just sitting there begging to be pinged.
You know, you could Cone of Cold, I guess, too, but we'll see. And I think, he's going to Cone of Cold, I guess.
Yeah, you know, considering how many spells he has in his hand, he may as well do that. Slow down the damage coming in at him. It is a warrior deck. You do have to be afraid of things.
Yep, absolutely. So now we're going into a 5-mana turn, and this is getting to be where it's going to be a little bit scary. In fact, he could rush the Fairy Dragon and the Warsong Commander to this turn if he wants to, and do 3 damage right off the bat. That wouldn't be
He could Frothing Berserker, and then anything that gets removed, the Frothing becomes really big. But if he plays another minion, God, I mean, Ellis is gonna... What do you do here, though? This is the hard turn, because you can't Blizzard. If you do Blizzard, though, the Warsong is still there.
Yeah,
you're still taking a ton of damage next turn.
Yeah, I think you have to, though, and that's what he's going to do. Oh, and he's got Arcane Missiles, too. Wow.
So lucky there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, my God. Sickest draw, because...
Yeah, heart of the cards right there.
Yeah. And he didn't Arcane?
He didn't play it.
I think that's a terrible mistake.
He didn't play it. Yeah,
that is a terrible mistake.
That opens himself up to an enormous amount of damage. Frothing Berserker right into Shattered Sun Cleric. Yep, do it.
Yeah,
6 damage coming in, and oh boy, LS.
The simple Arcane Missiles, man, takes out the Warsong and does a couple damage to the warrior almost every time.
Yeah.
I think that was a drastic misplay. He's taking so much more damage than he needs to.
I mean, he's got Polymorph. Is he actually going to... Okay, yeah, so there it is. He's going to go ahead and just ping. But now the Arcane Missile's not quite as valuable. He's going to use it anyway.
I think you always ping after the Arcane Missiles as well. I think there's some misplays coming out of LS. You know, this is not an archetype that he plays very often.
That was a pretty good Arcane Missiles, though. I mean, he hit the 2 1-health minions, so you really can't ask for anything better than that. So Gnimsh is reduced again to a 3/2, but he's got a lot of good stuff coming out. He's going to go ahead and go with the Commander just to get that fast damage in, but this is going to be an interesting one. Immediate play from LS. What are we going to see? Arcane Missiles after the Polymorph, it looks like.
Okay. You can't really complain about this, and...
Oh man.
Doesn't quite kill off that Shattered Sun.
Yep. I think this would be a turn. Well, he does get it with the ping.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, now you've got...
He's so low on health here, right?
Yeah.
And Gnimsh is really high up. Look at that, he's going to gain a weapon. He can go ahead and, this is exactly the right move.
Yeah.
This is a tough situation to get through, and LS is going to have to use more of these spells to remove this. Like, he can kill both minions, but...
Yeah, he doesn't have the worst hand ever, and he can just Blizzard, and then try to pile on a little bit of direct damage as well.
I think that's the right play there.
Yeah, okay, that's what he's going to do. Yeah, Shattered Sun Cleric gets the Blizzard off, and the thing is that Gnimsh can't kill the Cleric with his weapon, because it's only a 2... Well, it's 2-1 now. It was a 2-2 before. And now he's got his 2 Iron Beak Owls. Kor'krat Elite, so he does have some charge. Wouldn't be a bad idea to toss that out there. He needs to do the damage.
He should just be dealing damage here, I think.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Perfect.
Gets rid of the freeze. Really good. Oh, look at that damage. So good,
No,
man.
that's a good move,
That's
man.
actually just a game, is with that. Oh, yeah, it is game with the weapon.
Exactly.
Okay,
Nice.
I'm bad at math. All
Well
right.
played by Gnimsh. I think LS made some mistakes though, so
I think so too. Yeah.
let's see if Gnimsh can finish it up in the next game.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gnimsh is up 3-1, but before we go over these decks, I want to talk. I feel like Ellis made the biggest misplay was not playing Arcane Missiles to kill Warsong Commander.
Leaving that Warsong Commander alive really cost him big time. So yeah,
I think it cost him the game. I think that straight up was like victory for Gnimsh when that happened because he got so much additional damage.
He got a lot of momentum out of it for sure. I mean, that was I mean, the thing is that as the game progresses and as we get to see these pro players play more often, we're going to get to see, when we're going to get to recognize more when there are misplays, when a player has a bad game. That was definitely a bad game for LS.
And again, I think it goes back a lot to that's not the style that LS has ever played. Like, we both talked to him a lot, and he was always a control deck player in Magic the Gathering. So if you never really played aggressive decks, sometimes things like that, you're not quite understanding what you're doing with your aggressive deck. Maybe he's like trying to save that for extra damage later. He's like, well, I'll ping that next turn. It won't be an extra card that I use. And it's like, that's, in this case, not the right choice, and I think it costs him big. So Gnimsh with this kind of cool warrior deck, doing a lot of damage really quickly and picking up his third win.
I still feel like the mage deck was stronger, but enough about that. On to the next one.
Yes,
LS now on the bubble, man. I mean, he's one game away from getting eliminated from the King of the Hill.
This is his last deck for this King of the Hill, so this has to go all the way, or he's no longer king and Gnimsh is king. And let's take a look at it. It's called Switched at Birth, and it's a Warlock deck, and the reason why it's Divine Shield.
It's a Divine Shield Warlock deck. Now, you and I have played against this deck a lot. We know how strong this deck is. This deck is actually crazy good. So, I mean, there's a reason he saved it for last, because this is a strong deck, and it's a good all-around deck as well.
And you're going to have no idea what the hell you're playing against, and that's why it's called Switched at Birth. Every Divine Shield deck I've seen has been Paladin.
Yep.
They have those couple cards, like the Argent guy that gives you Divine Shield, and the Divine Shield card itself. And, that's what people are used to, but the thing is, most Divine Shield minions are actually neutral.
Yeah.
And we can see here that he's supplementing that with the best that Warlock has to offer, plus that card draw, because he's going to be the aggressor almost every time.
Yeah, Blood Imp, Flame Imp, he's got a couple Blood Knights as well to take advantage of the Divine Shield. He's got Cult Master for the draw. I mean, this is actually, and I'll say this, after playing against this deck a lot, in terms of Divine Shield decks you can make in Hearthstone, I actually think this is a better Divine Shield deck than you can make with Paladin. I'm going to put that out there. I really feel that it is.
I have to agree with you. The card draw is really good.
Yeah.
And there's just, most minion decks are not going to be able to effectively be the aggressor against this.
You can get a card advantage with this deck in a way you can never do with Paladin, even with Divine Favor. So I really do like this deck. I know you and I have played against it a ton. We know it pretty well. And so, I mean, I know Last Shadow's down to his last game, but this is a really strong deck. We'll see.
It is, and when I see like two decks with very similar amounts and sizes of minions in them, I have to go with the Divine Shield deck as the favorite.
It's more efficient.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm feeling that Last Shadow LS is going to be able to take this. It's just, I look at all this Divine Shield, I'm like, wow, that's going to trade just so well against a Warrior.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing too is that this Warrior deck, I'm still not a big fan of it, because it's, the whole problem with Warrior right now is that you oftentimes are forced into trying to do too many things at once. Like in this deck, it's like, oh, well, I've got some good taunt with Defender of Argus and Dread Corsair, so like maybe I'll play more defensive and all that. And then it's like, well, I've got Arathi Weaponsmith, so maybe I'll try to play in a way if I get that where I can get a lot of armor and be really beefy, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons. And then it's like, well, if I get the Warsong Commander, then I can play charge and I can be all aggressive. But the problem with a lot of Warrior decks in general right now is that as you play through the game with a Warrior deck, you're gonna be kind of distracted by different things. It's like, oh, well, I've got this card, so now should I be playing like this? And then the next turn you draw a different card that's gonna change how you are playing the deck. And so that confusion that comes into a lot of Warrior decks makes it really difficult to be consistent with it. So I'm still not a big fan of this deck. I feel like LS made some mistakes, and you know, because of that, lost the game last time. I think it was more LS losing than it was Gnimsh winning. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay.
So, and then again, I love this Warlock deck too. So yeah, I think LS is gonna take this one. And
well, this is a deck that he personally made. This isn't a deck that he took from someone
right,
as well.
Right. This is like LS. This is like the LS deck, basically.
Yeah, well, as of lately, it certainly is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
quite as controlling as some of the other decks that he likes to play, but
He's always been like
really
a big
good.
Warlock player too. Like
Yeah.
he's probably got more games as Warlock than like anybody right now. I think
so.
It like pre-wipe, he had like over 1,000 games played as Warlock. I think it was. So yeah, he plays a lot of this class.
He has the best Warlock control that I've seen ever.
Yeah.
This isn't exactly that, but this is kind of a fun thing to mix it up with.
I know the other deck you're talking about, and it is terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's time. Let's go ahead and jump right into this game and see if LS can stay alive. You know, he's on death point.
Now let's find out.
Here we go, Doa. Down at the bottom once again is Gnimsh. His hand is on the right. He is the warrior. And then up at the top, that's LS. His hand is on the left. And he's going to die if he doesn't win here.
He is the warrior. And the Flame Imp coming out, turn number 1 for LS, and that's a great turn number 1, a 1 for 3/2. Yeah, it's okay to take that damage if you're a Warlock. You're just like C-3PO, man. You were made to suffer.
Good way to put it.
Oh, and well.
Okay, he wants to kill that off immediately. That's the only thing that this could mean. But
Pretty
the thing
much,
is, I don't
yeah.
think he has any idea what he's playing against, because that owl would be so useful later on.
I would say so, yeah. And
Oh.
already, yeah, man, the Flame Imp. I'm a little bit surprised about that owl, because even if you don't know what type of Warlock deck you're playing against, you can be sure that there's gonna be Blood Imps in there somewhere. But already, Gnimsh in a little bit of trouble.
If the Blood Imp hadn't come out, it would have been okay. But
Yeah, well, he would have been
still-
able to do 3 damage and then lose it the next turn. But
Yeah. So here we go. LS starting to play. Now, right now, you know that Gnimsh is thinking, "What the hell is going on here? What am I playing against?"
he's thinking what we thought the first time we played against this ridiculous deck.
And this is so hard. Look at this. What does he do here? Because first off, if he does anything with Frothing Berserker, it goes down to 1 health, even though it gains a couple attack, it would be a 3/1. He has the Fire War Axe in his hand. What is that really going to do for him?
You know,
This is bad.
I think what you have to do is actually Shattered. Maybe you play the weapon and kill the imp with that, and maybe you attack it with your minion. I think some way you have to deal with the imp, and yeah, I think the weapon's going to be the way to go with that one. He could Battle Rage for 3 cards actually, which wouldn't be too bad. Oh no, it's only
Battle Rage has been changed.
That's right, it's only 1, so never mind.
So now he's taking a big hit here.
You'd think I'd know Battle Rage was changed because it tells me every time I log into the game.
Okay, so he's got a 4/1 at this point. Going to draw a couple cards off that Battle Rage. Still pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but this is a bad situation. Now, he has Commanding Shout.
Yeah.
So if this minion doesn't die this turn...
It's gonna die this turn.
It's
definitely. I think it's definitely gonna die this turn.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's worth it to sacrifice a 3/4, and he's actually just gonna sack the Blood Imp. I think that's perfectly fine.
I think that's fine, even though this is gonna make the Fire War Axes a little bit better. And Blood Imp is a great card. I think that was the right choice.
When you've got a health lead like this too, you actually are totally fine with them doing 3 damage to themselves to take out that creature, because if you look at the hand for LS right now, he knows what's coming. So
Dude, this is, look at this, at 5 mana, there's really not many choices. Like, do you play one of these Kor'kron Elites?
Yeah.
And if so, what? The best he can do is take 3 damage, kill 1 minion, and have the Divine Shield off the other while losing a minion.
You made a really good point in the intro where you were saying in decks like this where there's an equal number of minions, generally the Divine Shield will win out. And, you know, we know how refined this deck is, too. This is a deck that Ellis has been working on for a long time, and it is really, really consistent.
It's pretty consistent, man, and that's what Life Tap is all about, is adding that consistency. Now, look at that. He is not screwing around here. A 6/6, and for a warrior to deal with that, I don't think he even had executes in the deck, if I recall correctly.
No,
so that's
he doesn't, as far as I'm
That's
aware.
a pain. That's not something he's going to be able to remove easily at all.
The other thing, too, is that LS has Siphon Soul, he's got Soulfire, so he's even got good removal, and that's what really makes this, I think, a little bit better than Paladin, is that your removal options are so much better with Warlock than with Paladin, and there's another Argent Commander.
Look at this. Oh my god. Oh my god, he's just doing so much damage right now. And what Gnimsh is basically dead if you ask
dead.
me, man.
He's dead. There's literally nothing he can do to live next turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally there's nothing he can do.
He may as well just concede, I guess. See, that's rough. I think he just didn't know what he was playing against in the beginning.
Well, that's
which makes it a little bit rough.
That's one of the great things about this format is that, yeah, you just have no idea. And so LS, well, he's got the Doomguard, so yeah, it's still going to be GG, because he can get rid of the taunt and he can still play the Doomguard. So, and he's actually just going to silence it and take the win that way. Multiple ways to win for LS.
Yeah, he's got too much damage on board. Really well played by him. Very strong deck. Caught Gnimsh off guard. Yeah. But I don't think the next game's going to look like this. He knows what he's up against now. Alright, so LS kind of surprises Gnimsh a little bit with that switched at birth deck. You know, Divine Shield is not what you expect to see coming out of a Warlock player. In fact, you know, the first time that LS showed me that deck, just somewhere in my mind I was like, well, you can only make Divine Shield with Paladin.
Yeah. That's the general feeling, yeah, because it's supposed to be, but apparently this Warlock was switched at birth. Yeah. Should have been a Paladin, ended up being a Warlock, still likes Divine Shield. Reminds
me of Thor. Now we do have this deck coming out now from Gnimsh, and it's a Shaman deck. And I'm not too surprised to see a Shaman deck here. He is European, and in Europe we've seen Shaman has been doing really, really well.
Yeah, it's an interesting deck too. I feel like this is about as a Shaman deck really gets. You know, I mean, he's got a lot of utility for Overload, he's got Unbound Elemental, he's got the Earth Elementals that are really good. The thing that jumped out at me immediately with this deck is that he's running Onyxia and then Bloodlust, of course. I mean, Bloodlust isn't every Shaman deck, but the idea of getting the Onyxia out into it the next turn is interesting. And actually, Last Shadow not running any of that Warlock AoE, so that could theoretically work okay.
Yeah, if it gets that deep, for sure. And actually, if you look at his deck, it's pretty well suited for this. Look at this, right? Earth Shocks. That, for instance, kills Scarlet Crusader instantly. Just the silence gets rid of, you know, any Divine Shield, which is really nice. He's got 8 Forked Lightning, and he's got a Stormforged Axe, which are both going to be very, very valuable.
Rockbiter Weapon also is really good in taking out a lot of that early stuff. Not so much against Divine Shield.
The Lightning Storms, the Feral Spirits. I mean, he has a lot of board control in here, a lot of AoE, and that's going to help out against these Divine Shield minions.
Yeah, the idea is to get that big wall of taunting stuff out there and then Bloodlust into it, which makes me a little bit surprised. I will say I'm a bit shocked that he only has one Bloodlust in the deck, because I feel like this deck seems a bit more reliant on Bloodlust than even some of the other Shaman decks I've seen, so...
I see this as a more controlling
Shaman
deck.
It certainly is, but I feel like Bloodlust is like the kill card in this deck. So to only have one of them is a bit surprising. I mean, he certainly has other ways to do damage. He's got Faceless Manipulator, he's got Ragnaros, he's got Fire Elementals, he's got a lot of insurance in the late game, but... I don't know, maybe it's just me being aggressive again, but I would have totally included 2 Bloodlust in this.
You know, I keep looking at both these deck lists, and I'm actually really liking the Shaman for this. You know, I'm looking at Switched at Birth. There's 2 Spellbreakers, and that's basically, of course, he has the Siphon Souls as well, so that's really how he gets rid of taunts. So, with 2 Earth Elementals, as well as 2 Sengens, as well as all the removal that he has in this deck, I feel like it's going to be hard to get lethal damage in.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. I mean, he's also got, Gnimsh also has Hex as well to handle some of the Divine Shield guys as well. Blood Knight's not going to be a very big threat when Hex is a possibility. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we may actually see this deck go to Lord Jaraxxus. We'll find out.
That could be. Of course, Lord Jaraxxus beats everything in the long game.
Right, Eridar, Lord of the Burning Legion. I mean,
that's what I was going to say.
He does.
I'm going with Gnimsh here.
Okay.
I have to go with Gnimsh here. I think that this deck is like perfectly situated as far as a kind of controlling style to take out this Divine Shield deck.
I think it's certainly possible. I think this one could really go either way, and if Gnimsh takes it, he takes the series too.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into this game. Alright, here we go. We have Gnimsh down the bottom with his Shaman deck and a first turn Flame Imp.
Wow,
that's a great first turn play.
Oh, now I know why Gnimsh put Onyxia in there. It's because it's actually a golden Onyxia. How cool is that?
Oh, that's gonna be
Nice.
sick. Golden Whelps coming out for the
golden
win.
whelps. Now, he did Lightning Bolt to take out the Flame Imp right away, so that does leave LS 4 health down already in the game. We'll see what happens, though. It's up to the only a 1 mana turn now, 2 with the coin, but you don't really want to go right into a Stormforge War Axe with that, I think. And yeah, he's going to pass over to LS, who throws down the Felguard.
So here we go. I mean, he could play the Stormforge and Rockbiter to get rid of this, and I think that's probably the best play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's expensive. It's going to be some damage on him, but you cannot let that Felguard be out there this early in the game.
I agree with you 100%, because I mean the thing is he still has a life lead. I mean, it's still 1 health up, and it's not exactly going to get any better for LS because he doesn't have a lot of healing in the deck. And yeah, with that taunt, you can't allow LS to have the opportunity to build up that big line of enemies. So, what do you do here? You're going to coin?
Coin out the
Sen'jin.
Sen'jin.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's,
All right.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Feral, but actually by coining out the Sen'jin, that allows him to next turn play Earth Elemental.
Right.
And that's 2 big taunts, and all this already, Gnimsh looking pretty strong.
Yeah, he's definitely got that lead. We'll see what happens. He's got that strength. Okay, ooh, now Unbound Elemental. Oh, if it was only 6 mana, he could do Unbound into Feral Spirit, which would be a really strong play. But I think in this case, and now this is a big question for him, because if he plays the Earth Elemental, he doesn't have that strong turn 6 that we just talked about. So this is an interesting conundrum here for him.
That's always the beauty of playing the Warlock deck, or the Shaman deck, is when you use Overlords, when you not. And
right.
in this situation, I'm kind of feeling the Earth Elemental, man. Keep your taunters out.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent, but I feel like maybe you just totem here too. No, he's going to go with the Earth Elemental though, yeah. Just playing it ultra safe. It's going to delay his kind of cool overload play rather, but
that's a lot of damage on board. That's 10 damage right now. Okay, this is a great move. The Cult Master, he can draw a card off this.
Yep.
He gets his minion back. Not bad at all.
Oh yeah.
And this is actually going to force Gnimsh to do something about this. You don't want to let them have the Cult Master there, even if you're dealing 7 damage.
Yeah,
I almost feel like it might be right to attack the Cult Master.
Yeah.
At least with your sword, right? Or your axe.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's what it's for. Taking 4 damage, I think, is perfectly fine for Gnimsh right now. And now he can deal 7 to his opponent pretty good. I would maybe just throw down the Wolves, and that's exactly what he's going to do, yeah.
That's a good play. That is just so much taunt right now. What do you do? This is a sad board for LS.
This does bring up the question of, the Unbound Elemental in the deck, because I've played around with that card, and I really do feel that a lot of times you're going to be in positions like Gnimsh is in, where you're going to have it, but you're just going to have better plays to use instead of it. So that's why I just generally don't include it, because situations like this happen.
I got to agree with you on that, though. Unbound Elemental, I was a Shaman player for a long time, and he just always got cut eventually from every deck, because this is what happens, as you say. He kind of sits in your hand. He's a strong minion.
Yep, you want to play him, but there's just never a good opportunity. But speaking of opportunities, a little bit of a one for LS, takes out 1 of the Wolf tokens, and has a pretty good board with the 2 Shattered Sun Clerics.
I think here, you Faceless Manip your 7/8. You just Faceless Manip that, attack him for 9, and that's it. Like, how do you come back from that?
I don't think that's bad at all. And I mean, he could also do a Totem and then Manatide Totem as well, but yeah, I think he's just going to Faceless Manip the 7/8. And there you go. That's a lot of scary damage, and now you just attack. Yeah, you just put damage on the LS.
That's too much damage right there.
Yep. Well, this is looking okay for Gnimsh. He was thinking about taking out the 4/1, but you know what? That 4/1 is probably going to be coming at you anyway next turn, so why not get the damage onto the player?
LS has to clear the board right now. He has to clear it. Let's see. He can Spellbreaker a guy, maybe. And then attack into... He can kill some stuff.
He's got a huge board. Here's the crazy thing right now, is that LS, with this board, has an opportunity. If he can survive this turn, which it looks like he probably can.
Yeah, he can go into Jiraxxus.
I was going to say, yeah, he can actually, I think he can get to Jiraxxus this game.
Look at this, okay.
I was like joking about it early on. Oh, Lightning Storm though. Oh, that's big.
Wait a minute, that's 10 damage.
Oh, wait, yeah, you can just
well,
attack.
I guess that's it. The 1 Bloodlust.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, alright, well.
All right, so Gnimsh is our new King of the Hill here at IHEARTHU.com.
Yeah, had some really, really strong decks today. I think we saw LS make a couple mistakes here and there that contributed to it, but hey, happens to everybody. But I like this. I like that we've got a new King of the Hill. I want to rotate through a lot of players. It means we get to see even more varied decks. I'm pretty excited about next week now.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Don't forget that just following this broadcast, we have that beta key giveaway.
That's right.
You literally have like 30 seconds.
Something like
sign
that.
out. You have a little bit
as
more
long
than that.
as like we want to talk for, basically,
Yes.
is how long you have. So
Go
how generous
sign
do
up.
we feel?
We're
That's
giving
the
away a
question.
ton of keys too. Like
We
a
are,
lot of keys today. So make sure you check that out on the IHeartHU.com forums.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to talk about this for a minute, so you
Okay.
have a little bit of time. You better go do that.
All right.
So yeah, that was a kind of interesting match. We saw that I feel like LS is much more suited towards the more controlling decks.
Yeah,
He played
yeah.
better in games that were a little bit slower.
You know, that is true, and it is hard to play outside your style. I mean, this is one thing with CCGs. You can give a player a really good deck, but if it's not their style of play, if they don't have the right mindset to play it correctly, they're still not going to be as good with it as someone who, you know, made it or plays that style. So, yeah, I think he did kind of go a little bit outside of his comfort zone with the decks today, and I liked a lot of them. Like the Warlock deck, I love that deck. It's so good. I've been meaning to make it myself and start playing with it too, because it's definitely my style. But overall, just it seemed like he was a bit uncomfortable in the match today.
You know, Gnimsh, though, a very good player, very seasoned player from WoW, the WoW TCG, rather. And I liked his decks overall. They were kind of a little bit different, and I really did like that Shaman deck. That was like a very controlling Shaman that looks very hard to break through. So, great play by him. We'll be finding him an opponent pretty soon.
Yep.
And doing another one. So, big thanks to watching us here at IHeartHU.com, King of the Hill once again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we appreciate it a lot. Hopefully when you do all your signups for the beta key giveaway, you're also planning on actually talking on the forums. I want to say that again, like, the forums have been really, really cool. We've had a lot of good, intelligent discussion already with a few people that are in there, and hopefully with all the signups because of the beta key giveaway, we can kind of help create a very thriving Hearthstone discussion community. That's what I'm most excited about with the website, honestly, is getting that talking going. It's pretty cool because this game is going to be so big once it actually hits. We're still in beta and it's already big, but yeah, definitely create conversations, talk about cards, talk about decks, use the forums.
Yeah, and check out the articles as well. We've been writing a lot of
we worked
really
pretty
cool
hard on
articles.
writing those. So yeah, read those too, please.
So, guys, thanks very much for watching this King of the Hill. We're going to have another one coming up pretty soon. We don't have an exact schedule down for this yet. Doe and I are really busy traveling and stuff recently.
Yeah, November's going to be a crazy month because you're traveling, I'm traveling, there's a lot of stuff going on. So, but we will be able to get more consistency later on in the year. But we'll try to get as much out for you as we can anyway. We'll put it that way.
And of course, a big cheers to Simpatico. He is the producer. He's the one that mashes all these videos together, which, believe me, it's hard to have those hands up. By the way, leave us some feedback on what way you liked between Show Match 1 and Show Match 2. I feel like this was a better way to do it, seeing both hands the entire time.
I do like it this way, but, you know, where we don't have a spectator client, we have to do some experimentation, you know, to see kind of what works best. So yeah, any feedback you guys want to throw at us, we absolutely do appreciate.
All right, so guys, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned because we're doing that beta key giveaway now.